Our annual Nomad Passport Index has ranked Luxembourg as having the #1 citizenship to hold in the world, and today I'm going to tell you how you can get it. Most of the passports in the top 10 of our Nomad Passport Index are European countries where you can obtain citizenship there in a number of different ways. It could be through moving there and naturalizing. It could be through descent. You can get golden visas. There are a number of different ways to become a citizen of European Union countries. Luxembourg, being #1, has actually two options. I'm going to walk you through both of them today. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. It's a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally get dual citizenship, reduce their taxes overseas, and protect their assets overseas. We also host the biggest and best offshore conference called Nomad Capitalist Live every year. And so the first way to get citizenship in Luxembourg is through descent. Citizenship by descent is a great way to get some of the best passports in the world. You often see countries like Italy and Ireland being talked about, where you go back through your family tree, you find a parent, you find a grandparent, sometimes even a great-grandparent, and if you can prove that lineage, then you can go back and claim the citizenship that basically was always yours. Somebody left the country and it really never went away. You can qualify for that. So Luxembourg's rules, as I understand them, are a bit more strict, where generally they're looking for more of an all-male lineage. Generally, you want to be born in 1969 or later, and so either you have your mother who comes from an all-male Luxembourgish lineage, or it's just an all-male lineage. And so if you can prove that, you can go back theoretically as far as 3 generations, potentially even further. And if you can prove that Luxembourgish connection, then you can get citizenship by descent. And so basically it's just the process of having someone prove that, having someone prove your connections, and then you can get your passport. There's really no investment required. And then once you have the passport, you can obviously go and live in Luxembourg, but you can also go and live anywhere in the European Union. So you have that flexibility to have the world's best passport, according to our index, that gives you flexibility in terms of travel, in terms of your global tax planning, in terms of your freedom, in terms of the reputation that you hold. Obviously, not too many countries have a beef with Luxembourg, but you can also go and move to Ireland, move to Italy, move to Portugal, move to Latvia, move anywhere that you want within the European Union if you get Luxembourg citizenship by descent. The other way to claim that most of us who don't have a Luxembourgish family member can do is qualify for the Golden Visa program in Luxembourg. Now, you might not have heard of this because, again, you've heard about other Golden Visa programs like in Portugal or in Spain or in Greece, or lesser-known programs in Italy and Latvia and Ireland. But Luxembourg actually has a residence via investment program. It's a little bit different than most of the other programs, but if you really want to hold the world's #1 rated passport, according to Nomad Capitalist, then you can make an investment, you can get residence, and by actually spending time in Luxembourg, you can work your way towards citizenship. So, people have this idea that Luxembourg is a tax haven. It is not really the most tax-efficient country in Europe by any stretch. I mean, you've got so many favorable tax incentives in a lot of countries, particularly in Southern Europe, that Luxembourg really doesn't compare to that. It is not the cheapest place, just as an individual running a business, to go and live. But if you're willing to pay some level of tax and spend 183 days per year in Luxembourg, then you can basically make an investment: 5 years to permanent residence, 6 years to citizenship. Here's what you need to do. There's a number of different investment options, as with most golden visas, that you can choose from. The first is you can invest 500,000 euros into a company that's already in Luxembourg, that has its office in Luxembourg, and then you basically hold that investment for 5 years. So if I find a business that I want to invest in, someone's got a company, hey, I'm going to give you €500,000, I'm going to take some share of your company, I'm going to hold that for 5 years, I'm going to exchange, get a residence permit in Luxembourg. I can also go and invest 500,000 euros in a new business with the registered office in Luxembourg. So obviously that means that the tax status of that company is going to be based in Luxembourg. So if I'm trying to reduce my taxes as much as possible, I might go set up my company in the Cayman Islands or the UAE or in a number of different places. The Luxembourg companies are not going to give me the absolute best tax treatment. But if I'm willing to, pay those taxes and put in my time in Luxembourg, hey, if you're starting a business anyway and you want the world's best passport, you can do that. What you need to do, though, is hire 5 full-time employees within 3 years of being incorporated. So it's the case in many of these programs, especially programs in Northern Europe. You don't always need to hire everybody right away, but you need to show how you're going to hire people in the long run, and you need to have 5 full-time employees. Obviously, again, not the cheapest employees to have. There's a number of regulations in Luxembourg, as of anywhere in Europe. But within 3 years of incorporation, you need to have 5 people on staff, and the National Employment Agency will need to assist you in that hiring process. So you're working with the government. Perhaps a much more efficient government than where you come from, but that's the process. If you just want to be out of the business space, you don't want to put money into a business, you can make a €3 million capital contribution to a management and investment structure. That could be a family wealth management fund, private equity, or various venture capital funds. So if you look at a country like Portugal's golden visa, for example, hey, that's a 500,000 euro investment. So you're 6x the requirement for kind of a similar type of venture capital or wealth investment. So not cheap by any means. But Northern European countries are more expensive. And so, you don't have as many programs in this part of Europe. And so it is more expensive. Or lastly, 20 million euros in the form of a bank deposit with any kind of financial institution in Luxembourg, and that is, like everything else, pretty much going to be held for 5 years. If you have an extra 20 million euros burning a hole in your pocket, hey, Luxembourg banks are not bad places. I've been to Luxembourg, lots of banks there, and so there's plenty of banks that are open to people who want to deposit 500,000 euros, a million euros, all the way on up. If you put 20 million euros in there and you hold that for 5 years, then you will get your golden visa. And of course, when you get the golden visa, you can include your spouse, you can include kids under 21. And then basically you're going to go and you're going to spend time living in Luxembourg 6 months per year, which means you're generally going to be in their tax time. So this is not the cheapest way to get European citizenship. It's not the cheapest way to live in Europe. And it doesn't offer the best optionality in that, unlike, let's say, a Portugal golden visa, you can work towards citizenship under certain conditions with as little as about 7 days per year on average. You can hold other golden visas at much lower price points even than Portugal. And you don't have to spend time in the country. They may not be qualifying towards your citizenship, but you don't have to be there at all. With Luxembourg, you do need to be there, especially if you want to work towards citizenship. The investment amounts are higher. But again, to many people, there is a certain cachet about countries in that part of Europe. Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Germany, Austria. Some people see these countries as higher level than the Portugals and the Spains and the Italys that have the kind of the golden visa programs. You often see those programs down in the south of Europe where they've been looking much more for economic development, right? Golden visas started with Portugal and Spain saying, holy cow, our economies are in the toilet bowl. How are we going to bring investors in? All right, hey, let's give them this residence permit. In the case of Portugal, they made it pretty flexible to work towards citizenship. And so you had people coming in from Russia, not anymore, from China, from the Middle East, from all over the place, who wanted that path to European citizenship, wanted to access. Either they had a passport that didn't give them access and now they could live there as much as they want, or they wanted greater access, like Americans who can only spend 90 days at a time. And so that happened in Southern Europe. You don't hear much about the programs like in the Netherlands, like in Luxembourg, probably because they're just not very cost competitive. And certainly you could become a citizen of another EU country and then simply move to Luxembourg, and hey, you could naturalize as a Luxembourgish citizen eventually that way as well. But if you want to go directly to having the number one best passport, it's going to cost you with your time, and it's going to cost you with your money in terms of taxes and the investment, but that's how you do it. If you are fortunate to have a Luxembourgish ancestor in your family tree, that makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, you're going to be ponying up anything from €500,000 to €20 million and biding your time.